The bride who became her own revenge. The shocking betrayal. The wedding day that destroyed everything. Welcome to Crownfire Tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The champagne glass slipped from Sofia Martinez's hand, shattering on the marble floor of the bridal suite. But she didn't hear it break. She couldn't hear anything over the sound of her fiancé's voice coming from her phone, the phone she'd grabbed by mistake, thinking it was hers. "Tonight's the last night I have to pretend," Marcus's voice said through the speaker. "After the ceremony, the money transfers, and then we disappear." A woman's laugh followed. Sofia recognized it immediately. Her best friend. Her maid of honor. Rebecca. 3 years of playing devoted boyfriend, Rebecca purred. "You deserve an Oscar, baby." "The Martinez fortune is worth it," Marcus replied. "Her father's company, the trust fund, the properties. Once we're married, I get access to everything. We give it 6 months, file for divorce, and I walk away with half. 50 million, minimum." Sofia's legs gave out. She sank onto the white velvet bench, still clutching the phone that was destroying her entire world. "What about Sofia?" Rebecca asked, and Sofia heard herself hold her breath, waiting for some sign that the man she loved felt something, anything real. "What about her?" Marcus laughed. "She's so desperate to be loved that she'll believe anything. Did you see that pathetic poetry she wrote me? God, it was embarrassing." "The girl has no idea how boring she is," Rebecca said. "Always trying so hard, always so eager to please. It's almost sad." "It's pathetic," Marcus corrected. "But pathetic and rich is a combination I can work with. The choice between breaking and burning." Sofia's hand shook as she set down the phone. In the mirror across from her, she could see herself, wedding dress worth $30,000, hair swept up in an intricate design that had taken 3 hours, makeup applied by a celebrity artist flown in from New York. She looked like a princess from a fairy tale. But fairy tales were lies. The door to the bridal suite opened. Her mother, Catherine Martinez, swept in wearing champagne silk and diamonds that caught the light like ice. "Sofia, darling, the ceremony starts in 20 minutes. The photographer wants," Catherine stopped, her practiced smile faltering. "What's wrong?" Sofia looked at her mother, this woman who'd spent 3 years planning this wedding, who'd announced the engagement in the New York Times, who'd invited 400 guests to witness her daughter's triumph. How could she explain that there was no triumph? That she was about to marry a man who saw her as nothing more than a bank account with legs? "I can't do this," Sofia whispered. Catherine's face hardened. "You're having cold feet. Every bride gets nervous." "No, Mom. Listen to me," Catherine interrupted, her voice dropping to the tone she used in boardrooms. 400 people are downstairs. The Vanderbilts, the Astors, the governor. Your father's biggest investors. Do you understand what canceling this wedding would do to our family's reputation? Marcus doesn't love me." "Love?" Catherine laughed, the sound brittle and sharp. "Sofia, grow up. Marriage isn't about love. It's about partnership, about building dynasties. Marcus comes from a good family, he has the right connections, and he looks perfect next to you. He's using me for money. Everyone uses everyone, darling. That's how the world works." Catherine moved closer, her perfume overwhelming. "You will walk down that aisle. You will smile. You will say 'I do.' And then you will go on your honeymoon and come back as Mrs. Marcus Thornton. Do you understand?" Sofia looked at her mother and saw the truth she'd been avoiding her entire life. Catherine Martinez didn't care about her daughter's happiness. She cared about appearances, about status, about the Martinez name remaining untouchable in society's highest circles. "No," Sofia said quietly. "Excuse me?" "I said no." Sofia stood, her voice growing stronger. "I won't marry him." Catherine's face flushed with anger. "You ungrateful, selfish girl. Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed for you? The connections I've built, the opportunities I've created? And you want to throw it all away because of some childish fantasy about love? I want to throw it away because I'm worth more than this, Sophia said, and the words felt like breaking free from chains she hadn't known she was wearing. The moment everything changed. Catherine raised her hand. For a moment, Sophia thought her mother might actually strike her. But then the door opened again, and Rebecca walked in, her emerald bridesmaid dress clinging to curves she'd enhanced with Marcus's money. Everything okay? Rebecca asked, her face arranged in false concern. Sophia, you look pale. Are you feeling all right? Sophia stared at this woman who'd been her best friend since college. They'd shared everything, late-night study sessions, heartbreaks, dreams about the future. Rebecca had been the first person Sophia told when Marcus proposed. She'd cried happy tears and promised to help plan every detail of the wedding. All of it had been a lie. I'm fine, Sophia said, her voice eerily calm. An idea was forming in her mind, dangerous and perfect. Just nervous. Of course you are, Rebecca gushed, moving closer. But Marcus is waiting for you, and he looks so handsome. This is going to be the most beautiful wedding anyone has ever seen. Sophia smiled, and it felt like putting on armor. You're right. It will be beautiful. Catherine visibly relaxed. Good. Now let's get you downstairs. Actually, Sophia said, pulling out Marcus's phone again, I need to show you both something first. A surprise for Marcus. I want your opinion. She pulled up the video she'd found buried in Marcus's hidden photo album. A video of him and Rebecca, tangled together in bed, recorded 3 nights ago while Sophia had been at her bachelorette party. Rebecca's face went white. Catherine gasped. Sophia, I can explain, Rebecca started. Don't, Sophia interrupted. I don't want your explanations. I don't want your apologies. I want you to know that I heard everything. The phone conversation. The plans to steal my money. All of it. You can't prove anything, Rebecca said, her voice turning cold and vicious now that the mask had dropped. And even if you could, who would believe you? Marcus and I have been so careful. You have no evidence. Sophia held up the phone. This video is evidence. The bank transfers you made from my accounts to a shell company Marcus created, those are evidence. The emails between you discussing which assets to target first, those are evidence. She'd found it all in the last 20 minutes, digging through Marcus's phone with shaking hands while her world collapsed around her. He'd been sloppy, arrogant, so certain she would never look. Mom, Rebecca pleaded, turning to Catherine, you can't let her ruin this. Think about the scandal. Think about what people will say. Catherine was staring at Sophia with an expression she'd never seen before. Not anger. Something like respect. 400 people are downstairs, Catherine said slowly. Including every major business contact we have, every investor in Martinez Industries, every society reporter on the East Coast. I know, Sophia said. If you walk away now, the story will be about you running away. About the Martinez daughter who couldn't go through with her own wedding. We'll look weak. Unreliable. I know, Sophia repeated. Catherine's eyes gleamed with something predatory. But if you marry him, if you smile and play the perfect bride, and then destroy him slowly, methodically, legally, that's a different story. The birth of a plan. Sophia felt something shift inside her chest. Her mother was right. Running away would make her look like the victim, the woman who couldn't handle betrayal. But playing the long game, letting Marcus think he'd won, and then taking everything from him the way he'd planned to take everything from her? That was revenge. The prenup, Sophia said, her mind racing. We can modify it before the ceremony. Add clauses that protect me. No, Catherine said, pulling out her phone. We don't modify anything. We let him think he's won. And then we document everything. Every fraudulent transfer, every lie, every moment he thinks he's getting away with it. We build a case that will bury him so deep, he'll never see daylight again. Rebecca backed toward the door. You're both insane. Stay, Catherine commanded, her voice sharp as glass. You're going to walk down that aisle and stand next to Sophia and smile like your life depends on it. Because it does. If you run now, I will destroy you and your family. Your mother's boutique? I own the building. Your brother's startup? I'm the primary investor. Your father's construction company? I control his permits. Rebecca's face crumpled. Please. You made your choice when you betrayed my daughter, Catherine said coldly. Now live with it. Sophia watched this exchange with detached fascination. She'd never seen her mother like this before, ruthless, calculating, protective in a way that had nothing to do with love and everything to do with power. Maybe she and her mother weren't so different after all. Sophia, Catherine said, turning back to her daughter, if you do this, there's no going back. You marry him, you play the role of devoted wife, and you help us gather everything we need to destroy him. It will take months, maybe longer. Can you do that? Sophia thought about the poetry she'd written Marcus, the love letters he'd mocked. She thought about 3 years of believing his lies, of shaping herself into what she thought he wanted. She thought about every moment she'd been too eager, too desperate, too pathetic. Yes, she said. I can do that. Walking into the fire. 20 minutes later, Sophia stood at the back of the cathedral, her arm linked with her father's. Eduardo Martinez looked at her with concern in his dark eyes. Mija, he whispered, you don't look happy. If you're having doubts. I'm not having doubts, Sophia said, and it was true. She wasn't doubting anything anymore. She knew exactly what she was doing. The music swelled. The doors opened. 400 guests rose to their feet, their faces turned toward her with expressions of admiration and envy. She could see Marcus at the altar, devastatingly handsome in his custom tuxedo, his face arranged in what she now recognized as his performance of love. Next to him stood his best man, someone Sophia had never liked. And next to her, Rebecca walked in her emerald dress, her face pale but composed. Sophia walked down the aisle, her step steady, her smile perfect. She'd practiced this walk 100 times. But this time, she wasn't walking toward her future. She was walking toward his destruction. When she reached Marcus, he took her hand, and she felt nothing. No love, no pain, not even anger. Just cold, crystalline clarity. You look beautiful, Marcus whispered, and she could hear the lie in every word. So do you, she replied, and let him think she meant it. The ceremony began. Sophia said all the right words at all the right times. She slid the ring onto Marcus's finger and felt him do the same. She listened to the minister pronounce them husband and wife. And when Marcus kissed her, she kissed him back like she'd kissed him 1,000 times before. But inside, she was already planning his downfall. Heartbreak and revenge. The performance of a lifetime. The honeymoon in the Maldives should have been paradise. Crystal blue water, private villa, sunsets that painted the sky in impossible colors. Marcus played his role perfectly, attentive husband, passionate lover, devoted partner. He brought her breakfast in bed, held her hand during walks on the beach, whispered sweet words that would have melted her heart if she still believed them. Sophia played her role too. She smiled. She laughed at his jokes. She pretended she couldn't see him texting Rebecca whenever he thought she wasn't looking. You seem distracted, Sophia said one evening as they sat on their private deck, champagne glasses catching the sunset light. Marcus looked up from his phone, his expression shifting instantly to concern. Sorry, love. Just some business issues back home. Nothing for you to worry about. Tell me anyway, Sophia pressed, leaning forward with the eager interest of a devoted wife. I want to know everything about your life. She watched him calculate, deciding how much to tell her. It's my investment firm. Some of our clients are getting nervous about market volatility. I need to reassure them. Lie. She'd checked his investment firm's records before the wedding. It was barely functional, more of a vanity project than a real business. The texts he was sending were to Rebecca, coordinating the next phase of their plan to drain Sophia's accounts. Maybe I could help, Sophia suggested sweetly. My father always says I have a good head for business. That's sweet, but, Marcus paused, his smile patronizing. This is pretty complex financial stuff. Why don't you just relax and enjoy the vacation? You've earned it after all that wedding stress. Translation: you're too stupid to understand real business. Sophia sipped her champagne and let him think he'd placated her. But in her mind, she was cataloging every dismissal, every condescending remark, every moment he revealed his true feelings. Her mother had taught her something important: documentation was everything. So Sophia documented. She took photos of Marcus's phone while he slept. She recorded conversations using the voice memo app disguised as a weather widget. She forwarded incriminating emails to a private account Marcus didn't know existed. By the time they returned to New York, Sophia had enough evidence to bury him. But Catherine had warned her, timing was everything. Let him make his move first, her mother had said. Let him think he's won. Then we strike when he's most vulnerable. The game intensifies. 3 months into the marriage, Marcus made his first major play. Sophia came home from a charity luncheon to find him in the study of their penthouse, surrounded by papers. Sophia. Perfect timing. His excitement seemed genuine. I've been looking at some investment opportunities, and there's an incredible deal available. But we need to move fast. Sophia set down her purse and moved closer, her heart rate steady despite knowing what was coming. What kind of deal? A tech startup. Revolutionary AI technology. The company's valuing at $2 million now, but it's projected to hit $50 million within 3 years. Marcus spread out charts and projections that looked impressive to anyone who didn't know they were fabricated. I want us to invest. Together. As a couple. How much? Sophia asked. $5 million. I know it's a lot, but that's most of my trust fund distribution for the year. I know, and I wouldn't ask if I wasn't absolutely certain about this. Marcus took her hands, his eyes earnest and pleading. Sophia, this could change our lives. We could triple our money. Build something real together. Sophia pretended to hesitate. I don't know. That's a lot of money to risk. It's not a risk. I've done all the research. And baby, he pulled her closer, his voice dropping to that intimate tone he used when he wanted something. I thought we were building a life together. Partners in everything. Don't you trust me? There it was. The manipulation. The emotional pressure disguised as romantic vulnerability. Of course I trust you, Sophia said, letting her voice waver just enough. I've never made an investment this big before. That's why you have me, Marcus said, kissing her forehead. To guide you. To protect you. Sophia looked up at him with wide, trusting eyes. Okay. Let's do it. The relief on his face was almost comical. Really? You're sure? I'm sure. We're partners, right? I trust you completely. She signed the investment documents the next day. Marcus thought he'd won. What he didn't know was that Sophia had run the company name through every database available. The tech startup didn't exist. The address listed for their headquarters was an abandoned warehouse in New Jersey. The entire operation was a shell company designed to funnel her money into an offshore account Marcus controlled. What Marcus also didn't know was that Sophia had quietly alerted the SEC about suspicious investment activity, providing them with a detailed paper trail. She'd also hired a private investigator, not the obvious kind Marcus might detect, but a forensic accountant with FBI contacts who could trace money through the most complex laundering schemes. The trap was set. Now she just had to wait for Marcus to step into it. The cracks began to show. But playing the role of oblivious wife was harder than Sophia expected. Not because she missed Marcus, she was surprised to discover she felt nothing for him but cold contempt. The difficulty was in maintaining the performance when every instinct screamed at her to expose him immediately. Especially when Rebecca started appearing more frequently. "I hope you don't mind," Rebecca said one Thursday afternoon, letting herself into the penthouse with the key Marcus had given her. "Marcus invited me to go over some plans for his mother's birthday party." Marcus wasn't home. He was at the gym, which meant he was actually at a hotel bar meeting with the lawyer helping him establish his post-divorce financial strategy. "Of course I don't mind," Sophia said, setting down her book. "You're always welcome. Can I get you some tea?" "Water's fine." Rebecca settled onto the white leather sofa like she owned it, her designer heels kicked off, her expression smug. "So how's married life?" "Perfect," Sophia said, moving to the kitchen. "Marcus is amazing. I feel so lucky." Rebecca's tone suggested she knew better. "And the honeymoon phase hasn't worn off yet? No arguments? No disappointments?" Sophia returned with 2 glasses of water, her smile serene. "None. Why would there be?" "Oh, no reason. It's just that you seem different. More confident maybe. Less desperate." The insult was casual, designed to wound while maintaining plausible deniability. Sophia absorbed it without reaction. "Marriage has been good for me," she said simply. Rebecca studied her for a long moment, something shifting behind her eyes. Suspicion, maybe. Or concern that the easy mark she'd helped Marcus target wasn't as easy as they'd thought. "Good," Rebecca said finally. "I'm happy for you. Truly." Another lie in a relationship built entirely on lies. The first domino falls. The SEC investigation went public 6 weeks later. Sophia watched the news coverage from her penthouse, Marcus standing frozen beside her, his face pale. "This is a mistake," Marcus said, his voice tight. "The company is legitimate. I verified everything." "Maybe you should call your contacts," Sophia suggested, her tone perfectly calibrated between concern and confusion. "Find out what's happening." Marcus grabbed his phone and disappeared into the study. Through the door, Sophia could hear his voice rising, panic bleeding through his usual smooth confidence. She pulled out her own phone and sent a single text to her mother. It started. Catherine's response came immediately. "Documentary evidence?" "Everything." "Good. Now we wait." Waiting turned out to be exquisite torture. Marcus spiraled over the next few days, making frantic calls to lawyers and accountants, trying to understand how the SEC had traced the money. Sophia played the supportive wife perfectly, bringing him coffee, rubbing his shoulders, asking gentle questions that made him explain his fraudulent activities in detail while she secretly recorded every word. But the final piece of the plan required something Sophia had been dreading, confronting Marcus with the truth. Not alone, that would be dangerous. But in the right setting, with the right witnesses, the revelation of everything she knew would destroy him completely. Catherine arranged it perfectly. A family dinner at the Martinez estate. Eduardo and Catherine, Marcus's parents Richard and Louise Thornton, Rebecca invited as Sophia's best friend, and a guest Marcus didn't expect, David Chen, the private investigator whose forensic accounting had unraveled every thread of Marcus's scheme. "David is consulting on some business matters," Catherine said smoothly when Marcus questioned the stranger's presence. "I thought it would be valuable to get his perspective on the current SEC situation." Marcus's smile was strained. "Of course. The reckoning begins." Dinner was formal. 7 courses, wine pairings, polite conversation about nothing important. Sophia watched Marcus grow more relaxed as the meal progressed, his charm returning, his confidence rebuilding. He thought this was just another social obligation, another performance. He had no idea the performance was about to end. It was Catherine who opened the attack, her voice casual as she set down her wine glass. Marcus, I've been meaning to ask you about the Nexus Technologies investment. How is that performing? Marcus's fork paused halfway to his mouth. It's early days, but the indicators look good. That's strange, Catherine continued, because according to David's research, Nexus Technologies doesn't exist. The business license is fake. The address is abandoned. And the $5 million Sophia invested has been distributed across 3 offshore accounts registered to shell companies in the Cayman Islands. The table went silent. Marcus's parents exchanged confused glances. Rebecca's face drained of color. Eduardo leaned back in his chair, his expression thunderous. I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus said, but his voice shook. Don't lie, Catherine said coldly. We have everything. Bank records. Emails. Text messages between you and Rebecca planning how to steal from my daughter. Video evidence of your affair. Audio recordings of you discussing your strategy. Everything. Rebecca stood abruptly, her chair scraping back. This is insane. Sophia, tell them. Sit down, Sophia said quietly. Rebecca froze. Something in Sophia's voice, in the steel beneath the soft tone, made her sink back into her chair. Sophia turned to Marcus, and for the first time since discovering his betrayal, she let him see the truth in her eyes. The knowledge. The anger. The absolute certainty of his destruction. I heard everything, Sophia said. The phone call before our wedding. The plans to take my money. Every insult you thought I was too stupid and desperate to notice. I heard it all. Marcus's face went through a series of expressions: shock, denial, fear, and finally, rage. You knew? He snarled, the mask finally dropping. You knew and you still married me? I married you so I could destroy you, Sophia said calmly. And I have. You can't prove. David Chin pulled out a tablet and began displaying evidence. Bank transfers. Emails. Voice recordings. The video of Marcus and Rebecca together. Everything Sophia had collected over months of careful investigation. The SEC has all of this, David said. So does the FBI. Wire fraud, conspiracy, identity theft, and investment fraud. Conservatively, Mr. Thornton is looking at 15 to 20 years in federal prison. Marcus lunged toward Sophia, his hands reaching for her. But Eduardo was faster, standing and blocking his son-in-law with a body hardened by decades of work. Touch my daughter and I will end you, Eduardo said quietly. The truth emerges. Richard Thornton finally found his voice. Marcus, tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't marry this girl for money. Marcus laughed, the sound bitter and broken. Of course I did. Look at her. Why else would I marry someone like Sophia? She's boring, desperate, pathetic. But she's rich, and I needed money to pay off my debts. The words should have hurt. Maybe they would have, 3 months ago. But Sophia had cauterized that wound. She felt nothing but cold satisfaction. The debts from your gambling addiction? David asked, consulting his tablet. According to our investigation, you owe approximately $3 million to various casinos and loan sharks. Is that correct? Marcus didn't answer, but his silence was confirmation enough. Rebecca stood again, moving toward the door. I need to leave. Actually, you don't, Catherine said. Because David has evidence of your participation in the fraud scheme. You helped Marcus access Sophia's accounts. You forged documents. You're an accomplice. Rebecca's face crumpled. I didn't know it would go this far. Marcus said it would just be a simple divorce. Quick money. He promised. He promised you'd run away together, Sophia finished. I know. I read the emails. Sophia, please, Rebecca begged. We were friends. That has to count for something. We were friends, Sophia agreed. Until you decided my fiancé and my money were more important than our friendship. I'm sorry, Rebecca whispered. No, you're not, Sophia said. You're just sorry you got caught. Catherine stood, her presence commanding the room. Here's what's going to happen. Marcus, you will file for divorce immediately and waive all claims to Sophia's assets. You will surrender your passport. You will cooperate fully with federal investigators. And you will stay away from my daughter. And if I don't? Marcus challenged. Then we release everything to the media, Catherine said. Every detail of your fraud. Your gambling debts. Your affair with your wife's best friend. Your family's reputation will be destroyed along with yours. Louise Thornton made a small, wounded sound. Richard's face had gone gray. You can't, Marcus started. I can, Catherine interrupted. And I will. This is the best deal you're going to get. Take it. The ultimate payback. The aftermath. The divorce was finalized in record time. Marcus signed everything Catherine's lawyers put in front of him, his hands shaking, his face haunted. He knew he was lucky to avoid immediate arrest. The federal investigation was ongoing, but Catherine had negotiated a temporary deal. Cooperation in exchange for a delayed prosecution. Marcus would spend the next 6 months providing evidence against his accomplices in the investment fraud scheme, and then he would go to prison. It was the best outcome he could hope for. Rebecca fared slightly better. Her lawyer negotiated a plea deal, probation, community service, and a permanent mark on her record that would follow her forever. She moved to California within a week of the trial, unable to face the social destruction that came with being exposed as a fraud in New York's elite circles. Sophia watched it all with detached satisfaction. The revenge was sweeter than she'd imagined, not because Marcus and Rebecca were suffering, but because she had proven something to herself. She was not pathetic. She was not desperate. She was strong. But strength, she was learning, came with its own complications. The unexpected consequences. You've become quite famous, Catherine said one morning over coffee in the Martinez penthouse. The betrayed heiress who outsmarted her con artist husband. The tabloids can't get enough of you. Sophia scrolled through the headlines on her tablet. They were calling her the Revenge Bride, the Queen of Payback, and various other dramatic titles. Some of the coverage was admiring. Some was critical, suggesting she'd been manipulative and cold. Does it bother you? Catherine asked, reading her expression. I don't know, Sophia admitted. I did what I had to do. But sometimes I wonder if I became just as calculating as Marcus in the process. You're nothing like Marcus, Catherine said firmly. He destroyed people for profit. You protected yourself and exposed real crimes. There's a difference. Is there? Sophia set down her tablet. I lied for months. I pretended to love him while documenting his every mistake. I used the same manipulation tactics he used on me. You used strategy, Catherine corrected. There's a difference between manipulation and self-defense. Sophia wanted to believe her mother. But late at night, when she was alone in the penthouse that still smelled faintly of Marcus's cologne, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd lost something essential in her quest for revenge. Some part of herself that had believed in love and trust and happily ever after. That part was gone. Burned away in the fire she'd started to consume Marcus. She wondered if it would ever come back. The unexpected visitor. 3 months after the divorce, Sophia was in her office at Martinez Industries. She'd started working there officially, learning the business from the ground up, when her assistant buzzed to announce an unexpected visitor. Ethan Cross is here to see you, her assistant said. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important. Ethan Cross. The name was familiar, but Sophia couldn't place it immediately. Did he say what it's about? He's a journalist. He wants to talk to you about your divorce. Sophia's first instinct was to refuse. She'd done enough interviews, suffered through enough invasive questions about her marriage and betrayal. But something made her pause. "Send him in," she said. The man who entered was not what she expected. Mid-30s, casually dressed in jeans and a button-down shirt, with intelligent eyes and a notebook instead of a recording device. He looked more like a university professor than a tabloid journalist. "Ms. Martinez," he said, extending a hand. "Thank you for seeing me. I know you've been avoiding the press." "You're very perceptive," Sophia said, shaking his hand. His grip was firm but not aggressive. "What publication are you with?" "I'm freelance, currently working on a long-form piece for The Atlantic. It's about women who've been targeted by romance fraudsters and how they fought back. Your case is one of several I'm examining." Sophia gestured to the chair across from her desk. "I'm not sure I'm interested in reliving the experience for public consumption." "I understand," Ethan said, settling into the chair. "But I'm not interested in the salacious details. I'm interested in the strategy. You executed one of the most sophisticated counter-fraud operations I've ever seen, and you did it without law enforcement help until the very end." "How?" Despite herself, Sophia was intrigued. "Why do you care?" "Because there are thousands of women in similar situations who don't have your resources or knowledge. If I can show them how you protected yourself, maybe they can learn to protect themselves too." Sophia studied him, looking for signs of dishonesty or ulterior motives. But Ethan's expression was earnest, his posture open. He genuinely seemed to care about helping people. "What do you want to know?" she asked finally. "The truth about revenge." They talked for 3 hours. Ethan asked thoughtful questions, took careful notes, and listened without judgment as Sophia described the months of deception, the careful gathering of evidence, the moment she'd revealed everything at that family dinner. "Do you regret it?" Ethan asked near the end of the interview. "The revenge, I mean. The calculated nature of your response?" Sophia was quiet for a long moment. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that I trusted Marcus in the first place. But do I regret protecting myself and making sure he faced consequences? No. Some people might say you were just as manipulative as he was. Some people might be idiots," Sophia said bluntly. "Marcus seduced me with the intention of stealing millions of dollars. I documented his crimes and turned him over to federal prosecutors. Those aren't equivalent actions." "No," Ethan agreed. "They're not. But playing the role of devoted wife for months while secretly building a case against him, that must have taken a toll." "It did," Sophia admitted. "I'm not the same person I was before all this happened. I'm harder now. More suspicious. I don't trust easily anymore." "Do you think you'll ever be able to trust someone again? Romantically, I mean?" The question hit deeper than Sophia expected. "I don't know. Maybe. But whoever earns my trust in the future is going to have to work very hard for it." Ethan closed his notebook. "Thank you for your honesty. This is going to be a powerful piece." "When will it be published?" Sophia asked. "A few months, probably. I'll send you the final draft before it goes to print, if you'd like." "I would." Ethan stood to leave, then paused at the door. "For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Not just for yourself, but for every other woman Marcus might have targeted." "You stopped him." After he left, Sophia sat in her office and thought about that. She'd been so focused on the personal nature of her revenge that she hadn't considered the broader implications. By exposing Marcus and Rebecca, she'd prevented them from hurting anyone else. Maybe that counted for something. A new beginning. 6 months later, Sophia stood on the balcony of her new apartment. She'd sold the penthouse, unable to live in a space that held so many lies, and watched the sun set over Manhattan. She'd given her first major presentation at Martinez Industries that day, proposing a new fraud prevention division that would help protect vulnerable investors. The board had approved it unanimously. Her phone buzzed with a text from Ethan, "Article published today. You're going to get a lot of attention. Hope you're ready." Sophia pulled up the Atlantic's website and read the piece. It was honest, thorough, and surprisingly compassionate. Ethan had interviewed 5 women who'd been targeted by romance fraudsters, and he'd positioned Sophia as an example of how to fight back strategically. The comments section was already filling up. Most were supportive, praising her strength and intelligence. Some were critical, calling her cold and calculating. But one comment caught her attention. "This article saved me. I'd been in a relationship for 2 years with a man I suspected was using me for money, but I didn't know how to prove it or what to do. Now I know. Thank you for sharing your story." Sophia read the comment 3 times, feeling something shift in her chest. Her revenge hadn't just been about punishing Marcus. It had been about showing other women that they didn't have to be victims. That they could be strategic, powerful, and victorious. Her phone rang. It was an unknown number, but something made her answer. "Sophia Martinez?" a woman's voice asked, tentative and hopeful. "Yes? My name is Jennifer Walsh. I read the article about you in the Atlantic. I think I'm in a situation like yours. And I don't know what to do." Sophia sat down, her heart racing. "Tell me everything." The new mission. Over the next 3 months, Sophia received 47 calls from women who'd read Ethan's article. Some were in relationships with suspected fraudsters. Others had already been victimized and wanted help recovering their losses. A few were lawyers and financial advisors who wanted to collaborate on fraud prevention strategies. What started as Sophia answering phone calls evolved into something bigger. She worked with her father to establish the Martinez Foundation for Financial Fraud Prevention, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping victims of romance and investment fraud. Catherine was skeptical at first. "You're making yourself a target," she warned. "These con artists won't appreciate you helping their victims escape." "Let them come," Sophia said. "I'm not afraid anymore." And she wasn't. The fear that had defined so much of her life, fear of disappointing her mother, fear of being unlovable, fear of being alone, had burned away completely. What remained was purpose. The complication. The foundation's launch event was scheduled for a Thursday evening at the Martinez estate. 200 guests, victims of fraud, law enforcement officials, financial regulators, journalists, and philanthropists. Sophia had spent weeks preparing her speech, refining her message, making sure every word counted. The day before the event, Ethan Cross called. "I have some information you need to know," he said without preamble. "I've been investigating Marcus's associates, and there's something disturbing." The gambling debts he claimed to have? They were real. But he didn't pay them off. The loan sharks he owes money to are connected to organized crime, and they're not happy that their investment in Marcus went bust when he went to prison. Sophia's stomach dropped. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you need security. Real security. These aren't white-collar criminals. They're dangerous, and they blame you for Marcus not being able to pay them back." "That's insane. Marcus defrauded me." "They don't care. To them, you're the rich woman who destroyed their cash cow. My source says there's been chatter about making an example of you." Sophia looked around her office, suddenly aware of how exposed she was. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimal security, a schedule that anyone could access online. "How serious is the threat?" she asked. "Serious enough that I'm violating journalist ethics to warn you. Get security. Cancel public events. Keep a low profile until the FBI can investigate. The foundation launch is tomorrow. Cancel it." "No. Sophia." "I won't let them make me hide," Sophia interrupted. "I've been hiding my whole life. Hiding from my mother's expectations, hiding from Marcus's lies, hiding from the truth about who I am. I'm done hiding." Ethan was quiet for a moment. "Then at least let me help you increase security. I have contacts with private security firms. People who specialize in high-risk situations." "Fine," Sophia agreed. But the event goes forward. The night everything changed. The foundation launch was beautiful. The Martinez estate was transformed with elegant lighting, floral arrangements that perfumed the air, and a string quartet playing softly in the background. Guests mingled on the terrace, their conversations a blend of sympathy for fraud victims and admiration for Sophia's courage. Sophia wore a midnight blue gown that Catherine had chosen, armor disguised as elegance. She moved through the crowd, shaking hands, accepting congratulations, telling her story over and over until the words became automatic. But underneath the performance, she was hyper-aware of the security team Ethan had hired. 6 professionals, strategically positioned, their eyes constantly scanning for threats. "You're doing great," Catherine murmured during a brief moment alone. "Your father is very proud." "Where is Dad?" Sophia asked, suddenly realizing she hadn't seen Eduardo in over an hour. Catherine's expression shifted slightly. "He had a phone call. Business matter. He'll be back soon." Something in her mother's tone made Sophia's instincts flare. "What kind of business matter?" "Sophia, not now." "What kind of business matter, Mom?" Catherine pulled her daughter into a quiet corner, away from the guests. "Someone contacted your father. They claimed to have information about additional victims of Marcus's fraud scheme. Your father went to meet them." "Alone?" "He took 2 security guards." Sophia's blood went cold. "This is a setup. The loan sharks." "Don't jump to conclusions," Catherine said, but her voice was tight with worry. "Your father can handle himself. Call him. Now." Catherine pulled out her phone and dialed. It rang. And rang. And went to voicemail. Sophia grabbed one of the security team leaders, a former Marine named Derek. "My father is missing. He went to meet someone claiming to have information about fraud victims. It could be a trap." Derek's expression hardened. "When did he leave?" "An hour ago," Catherine said. "Where was the meeting?" "A warehouse in Red Hook, Brooklyn." Derek was already moving, speaking into his radio, coordinating with his team. "We need to go now. You 2 stay here with the remaining security." "No," Sophia said. "I'm coming with you." "That's a terrible idea," Derek argued. "He's my father." "I'm coming." The warehouse. The drive to Red Hook took 25 minutes of Derek's aggressive maneuvering through New York traffic. Sophia sat in the back seat, her heart hammering, her mind racing through worst-case scenarios. The warehouse was exactly the kind of location that appeared in crime movies, isolated, poorly lit, surrounded by chain-link fencing and no trespassing signs. Eduardo's car was parked outside, but there was no sign of the security guards who'd accompanied him. "Stay in the vehicle," Derek ordered. "We're going in armed. If anything happens, you drive away immediately. Understand?" "Yes," Sophia lied. Derek and 2 other security personnel exited the vehicle and approached the warehouse with weapons drawn. Sophia watched them disappear through a side entrance, and then she counted to 30. Then she got out of the car. The warehouse smelled like rust and motor oil. Sophia moved quietly, staying in the shadows, following the path Derek's team had taken. She could hear voices ahead, angry and escalating. "Don't have the money, you don't walk away," a man was saying. "Your son-in-law made promises. We invested in his operation. Now he's in prison and we're out $3 million. I'm not responsible for Marcus's debts," Eduardo's voice, strained but steady. "No, but your daughter is. She destroyed our investment. Someone needs to pay." Sophia rounded a corner and saw them. Eduardo was on his knees, hands bound behind his back, his face bruised. 4 men stood around him, one holding a gun to his head. Derek and his team had their weapons raised, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. "FBI! Nobody move!" The shout came from the opposite entrance. A flood of federal agents poured into the warehouse, weapons drawn, body armor gleaming under the harsh industrial lights. The standoff lasted 3 seconds. Then the man holding the gun to Eduardo's head made a choice. He released Eduardo and raised his hands in surrender. The other criminals followed suit. As agents swarmed in to make arrests, Sofia ran to her father. She dropped to her knees beside him, her hands shaking as she worked to untie the ropes around his wrists. "Mija," Eduardo breathed. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," Sofia said, tears streaming down her face. "Don't ever do something this stupid again." "Deal," Eduardo said, managing a weak smile. A familiar voice called out, "Sofia." She looked up to see Ethan Cross emerging from the crowd of federal agents. He was wearing a press credential and carrying a camera. "You called the FBI," Sofia said, understanding dawning. "I called everyone," Ethan confirmed. "When Derek told me where you were going, I made some calls. Turns out the FBI has been investigating these loan sharks for months. Your father's kidnapping gave them probable cause to move in early." "You saved him," Sofia whispered. "You saved yourself first," Ethan replied. "I just helped with the follow-up." 6 months later. The federal trial of Marcus Thornton and his associates made national headlines. Marcus received 18 years for fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. Rebecca served 2 years and was released on probation. The loan sharks who'd kidnapped Eduardo received sentences ranging from 15 to 25 years. The Martinez Foundation for Financial Fraud Prevention became one of the most successful nonprofits in the country, helping over 300 victims recover more than $40 million in stolen assets. Sofia became a sought-after speaker, her story inspiring thousands of women to stand up against financial abuse. But the most unexpected development was Ethan Cross. He'd stayed in New York after the warehouse incident, writing a book about the case and continuing his investigative journalism. He and Sofia had developed a friendship built on mutual respect and shared purpose. He understood her trauma without needing extensive explanations. She appreciated his integrity and intelligence. When Ethan asked her to dinner 6 months after the trial, Sofia's first instinct was to refuse. She wasn't ready for romance. She might never be ready. But Ethan wasn't offering romance. He was offering companionship. "I'm not asking you to trust me with your heart," Ethan said over coffee at a small cafe in Greenwich Village. "I'm asking you to trust me with your time. No expectations. No pressure. Just 2 people who enjoy each other's company, spending an evening together." Sofia studied him, looking for hidden agendas or manipulative tactics. She found none. Just a man who seemed genuinely interested in knowing her. "Okay," she said. One dinner. One dinner became 2. Then 5. Then a standing Sunday brunch tradition that Sofia found herself looking forward to each week. 3 months after their first dinner, Ethan kissed her on the steps of the Martinez Foundation office. It was gentle, questioning, giving her every opportunity to pull away. She didn't. "I'm damaged," Sofia whispered when they finally broke apart. "I don't know if I can be what you need." "You're not damaged," Ethan said. "You're battle-tested. There's a difference. And I don't need you to be anything except yourself." The true ending. A year after her divorce, Sofia stood in the same cathedral where she'd married Marcus. But this time everything was different. The guests were people she genuinely cared about. The music was her favorite, not her mother's choice. And the man waiting at the altar was someone who'd proven, through 1,000 small actions, that he saw her as a partner, not a prize. "You don't have to do this," Catherine said as they waited for the processional to begin. "After everything that happened with Marcus." "Mom," Sofia interrupted gently. "This is nothing like Marcus. Ethan has spent a year showing me who he is. I trust him." "How can you be sure?" Sofia smiled. "Because he's never tried to change me. He doesn't need me to be smaller or quieter or more convenient. He likes me exactly as I am, complicated, suspicious, and strong." Catherine's eyes glistened with tears. "When did you become so wise?" When you taught me that revenge is best served strategically, Sophia said. And that the most important person to fight for is yourself. The music swelled. The doors opened. Sophia walked down the aisle with her head high and her heart whole. She'd been broken once, but she'd rebuilt herself into something stronger. She'd been betrayed, but she'd learned to trust again, slowly, carefully, on her own terms. When she reached Ethan, he took her hand and whispered, "You look like you just conquered the world." "Just my demons," Sophia whispered back. "The world can wait until after the honeymoon." They married surrounded by love instead of lies, by hope instead of greed. And when Sophia said "I do" this time, she meant it with every fiber of her being. Because the greatest revenge wasn't destroying Marcus. It was building a life so beautiful, so authentic, so completely her own that his betrayal became nothing more than a painful memory that had shaped her into someone extraordinary. She was no longer the desperate girl who'd needed validation from a man who didn't deserve her. She was Sophia Martinez, fraud prevention advocate, best-selling author, survivor, and proof that the best revenge is living well. And she was just getting started. The end.